this evening is an Oscar-winning actress, producer, humanitarian, and really the main reason Guillermo rolled into work this morning. You can see her next as the immortal warrior Andy in The Old Guard 2. It comes out July 2nd on Netflix. Please welcome Charlize Theron.
It comes out July 2nd on Netflix. Please welcome Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron requested security protection from her own co-star during filming. Tom Hardy's behavior on Mad Max became so unpredictable, producers had to intervene. But what really happened in the Namibian desert goes deeper than just late arrivals and arguments. I'm talking about real love and real marriage. Really? Yeah. And I heard also I think you're very judgmental. Charlize later revealed she was genuinely scared of Tom during production. The incident that triggered her fear involved more than just shouting. Crew members witnessed something that made them question Tom's mental state. The truth about their feud is darker than Hollywood admits, yeah. I mean, I think we were so, South Africa is so far away from the rest of the world. So, we loved movies, but we had, this is how old I am, we had drive-in theaters. Like, we would go to the drive-in theaters. Yeah. Was that and you didn't know what you were going to see. Charlize Theron came into the world on August 7, 1975 in Benoni, a quiet mining town outside Johannesburg. And from the start, her life felt tied to soil under her feet. Her parents, Gerard and Charles, ran a road construction business that was big enough to rank as the third largest in South Africa. Yet they still lived the kind of farm life where nothing came easy. Charlize grew up as an only child in a wide stretch of land with horses and cows and muddy boots waiting for her every morning. By age 5, she was already helping with chores. And by age 10, she was driving a tractor like it was just another part of childhood. The farm doubled as a home and a business headquarters, so she saw grown-up problems long before most kids learned how to spell their names. That early mix of work, dust, and responsibility shaped her without her even realizing it. Even with all that toughness forming around her, something delicate grew, too. At age 6, she fell in love with ballet. She went to Putfontein Primary School, a small government school with nothing fancy about it. But her mother wanted her daughter's passion to breathe. Sash drove her to lessons that were sometimes far from home. Charlize watched any dance tape she could find, even though the tiny video shop near them had only about 20 of them. Still, she watched them again and again until she could feel every step. By age 12, she was good enough that her teachers thought she needed more than a small-town classroom. And at 13, her parents agreed to send her to a boarding school in Johannesburg that focused on the arts. Leaving home that young was scary, but she wanted it so much that the bus rides back and forth each week felt like a small price to pay. Behind all this talent, her home life was slowly cracking. Her father's alcoholism turned their house into a place where every day felt uncertain. Sometimes he was gentle, sometimes he wasn't. By the time Charlize turned 15, the drinking had become a storm that never cleared. On June 21, 1991, everything broke. Her father came home drunk and furious after an argument. And he wasn't alone. He brought his brother and the two of them forced their way into the house. He started firing shots at objects around the home and then at Charlize's locked bedroom door where she and her mother were hiding. 3 bullets tore through the wood, none of them hitting the 2 people pressed tight against the other side. It was a miracle they survived those seconds. Gerda grabbed her own handgun and fired 4 times to stop him. It ended instantly. The authorities called it self-defense. Gerda was never charged. The entire country heard about the shooting, but only Charlize knew the years of fear that led up to that night. It was a kind of trauma that didn't just end when the police cars left. She stayed at the National School of the Arts until she graduated, throwing herself into ballet, flamenco, and contemporary dance because dancing felt like a way to breathe again. Even when some classmates teased her, she stayed focused. She believed ballet would save her future. But life was not done testing her. After she and her mother sold the farm and moved again, Charlize tried to keep up with dance in any way she could. She performed in Swan Lake and dreamed of a stage far bigger than Johannesburg. That dream brought her to New York, to the Joffrey Ballet School, with her mother working whatever job she could find just to keep her daughter's dream alive. Then all at once, at age 18, her knee gave out. One injury erased everything she had trained for since she was a little girl spinning in front of the television. She fell into depression so deep that she admitted later she survived some nights by stealing bread from restaurant baskets. Her mother told her she had to choose what came next or come home. That moment pushed her into modeling, which she had tested briefly at 16 when she won a contest in Italy. Modeling had already taken her through Milan and Paris, had paid her $500 a show, sometimes adding up to more than $20,000 in a month. It was a good life, but it wasn't her dream. In 1995, when she was 19, her life twisted in a new direction. She walked into a Los Angeles bank holding a $500 check from her mother. She needed to cash it just to get by, but the teller refused because it was from another state and Charlize wasn't a U.S. citizen. She argued so passionately that a man in line behind her, talent agent John Crosby, couldn't ignore her fire. He handed her his card right there. That moment led to her first acting job in Children of the Corn 3. And from that moment on, she started calling herself an actress. By 1996, she was living in a cheap Hollywood motel, holding on to her mother's $500 check like a lifeline. Her first role in 2 Days in the Valley paid only $2,500. And her next film, That Thing You Do, paid the same. In her first year, she made just $5,000 total, barely enough to keep going. But those tiny roles meant everything because they stopped her from giving up. In 1997, she filmed The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, and that job pushed her further than she had ever gone. One vulnerable scene took 14 hours to shoot. Director Taylor Hackford said she was one of the bravest actors she had ever worked with. The film made $130 million worldwide. And suddenly, she wasn't just a pretty face in small films. She was someone Hollywood noticed. Still, the industry tried to wrap her in one kind of role. Casting directors offered her parts where she played the helpless beauty. Nothing more. She fought back. She showed up to auditions she wasn't even invited to. She walked into casting rooms with full makeup just to prove she belonged. Some people laughed behind her back, but she didn't care. She needed them to understand she wasn't going to be boxed in. Then came Mighty Joe Young in 1998. She trained for 3 months to work with a giant gorilla puppet, doing wire work and physical stunts every day. The film cost $90 million to make but earned only $50.6 million. It flopped so badly that Charles fired her agent for steering her into the wrong projects. The failure shook her, but it also sharpened her. She needed better roles and better decisions. In 1999, she found the part that changed everything. She played Candy Kendall in The Cider House Rules opposite Tobey Maguire. The role demanded emotional honesty she wasn't sure she had, but she reached into all the pain she had carried since she was young. It worked. The film's success brought her a Golden Globe nomination and raised her salary to $1 million. Critics finally saw what she had been trying to show them for years. She landed on her neck during a back handspring on a concrete bridge. Production shut down and she later needed surgery and years of therapy. She admitted she knew the film would not work commercially, but she valued what she learned about stunt danger and personal limits. Her love life was a long and complicated thread through these years. She was with Stuart Townsend for nearly a decade, starting in 2001 when they met on Trapped. They lived together in Los Angeles and Ireland, and she once said being with him felt like winning the lottery. They split in 2010 because they were growing in different directions. She later dated Sean Penn from 2013 to 2015 while preparing for Atomic Blonde. They called each other the love of my life for a while, but it ended suddenly in June 2015. Charlize Theron spent more than 120 days in the Namib Desert to make Mad Max Fury Road. The crew shot in Namibia's Namib Desert, where the heat often climbed close to 130 dwarf. The sand burned, the sun hit hard, and dust storms could stop work without warning. For Emperor Furiosa, she shaved her head, put on engine grease instead of glamour, and trained with ex-military specialists so that every rifle move looked real. She learned to drive heavy rigs while wearing a tight prosthetic arm. The work was so rough that she lost weight just from the heat and the schedule. People on set dealt with dehydration, sunburn, and exhaustion. The budget climbed to about $150 million. Much of it poured into stunts, custom vehicles, and just keeping everyone alive out there. When the film finally came out, critics could feel that commitment in every frame, and awards bodies lined up to praise what she did. Behind the camera, things were not nearly as controlled. Tom Hardy's way of working clashed with hers from the start. He leaned into a raw, unpredictable style. He often turned up hours late, sometimes close to 3 hours behind call time, which blew up the schedule. Charlize, who treated the set like a battlefield that needed discipline, watched entire teams sit and wait in desert heat. Hardy was already a star from Inception in 2010 and The Dark Knight Rises in 2012. But on this shoot, people began to whisper that his behavior felt unprofessional. Charlize later said the delays felt disrespectful and unacceptable, especially when everyone around them was pushing through brutal conditions. Her strict timing and his loose improvisational rhythm never matched. Producers tried to calm things, but the friction kept growing. It all boiled over one morning in 2014. The crew was ready. Charlize was already in full makeup with her shaved head and prosthetic arm. They waited. Hardy showed up again about 3 hours late. This time she did not hold back. In front of the team, she cursed him out and demanded he face fines for wasting time. Witnesses said the argument was loud and sharp. Charlize felt his reaction was too aggressive and later said she felt physically threatened during that clash. The scene they were meant to shoot was important and the delay made the whole crew even more tense. Hardy himself later admitted that his livewire energy in that film was overwhelming even to him, shaped by intense roles such as Bronson in 2008. From that day on, the line between them hardened. They hit their marks in front of the camera, then kept their distance when it turned off. Charlize tried to get help. She asked for producer Denise Denovi to be present on set as a kind of shield and mediator, hoping that another strong female voice in the room would calm things and keep her safe. The directing team around George Miller did not allow that. So she kept working without that backup. The crew spoke quietly about Hardy's mood and intensity. Some days he seemed volatile and hard to read. Charlize kept showing up prepared on time and focused. The gap between her steady approach and his unstable energy made the atmosphere heavy through the rest of the shoot. Still, no one walked away. The cameras rolled, the war rigs drove, and the film inched forward in that dry, hostile desert. The freeze between them did not lift quickly, but it did soften a little during the green place scenes. Those moments in the story forced their characters to share real pain and trust on screen. The emotional weight of that sequence pulled both actors into a more open place, at least for a while. Even then, Charlize chose not to speak to Hardy off-camera until the final days. She wanted a clear boundary. When Mad Max Fury Road finally hit theaters, all that pain and chaos turned into one of the most praised action films of the century. The film earned about $380 million worldwide on a budget of around $150 million. It won 6 Academy Awards, including prizes for production design and costume design. Critics singled out Charlize and her one-armed driving work as a new standard for action acting. Viewers saw Furiosa as the true heart of the story. That kind of power on screen did not come out of nowhere. Charlize had already been building her own creative base. She started Denver and Delilah Productions in 2003, but Atomic Blondie in 2017 showed how far she was willing to go as both star and producer. The film set in Cold War Berlin cost about $30 million and earned around $110 million worldwide. To get ready, she trained for 4 months in Krav Maga and other close combat styles so she could do her own brutal fight scenes. The work was so intense that she broke a tooth during a stunt. Instead of shutting down, she kept going and later had dental surgery. Director David Leitch said that film changed what audiences expected from female action leads. After the success, she pushed for a sequel, which went into development with Netflix. While she was smashing bones on screen, she was also quietly building work that saved lives. In 2007, she launched the Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project, known as CTAOP, based in the United States, and focused on youth in Southern Africa, especially around HIV and AIDS. By 2023, the project had